Hi, Michael Yardney here for our regular Rich Habits, Poor Habits chat with Tom Corley. Welcome, Tom.
Hey, Michael, it's good to be back.
Now, Tom, over the years, you've studied the rich and the average person to see what's differentiated them. And when we have our chats, there's a lot of things we discuss about the success habits of the wealthy people. What we haven't talked about is what's holding other people back. In your study, did you find there were poor habits that kept people struggling in poverty?
Yeah, this is where I think my research is different from everyone else that's out there that's studying wealthy people and successful people. It's really important to know what to do. But knowing what to do will only get you halfway down the field, Michael. You have to also know what not to do. Why? Because those mistakes that you make, if you make one mistake, it could derail your entire business. It could sabotage your dream. So while it's important to know what to do, it's, I think, actually more important to know what not to do. And thankfully, I have the research from all the rich people and the poor people, primarily from the poor people, because they're doing these things that are holding them back in life.
So what are the anchors that are dragging people down, Tom?
Well, our negative beliefs. I just had to deal with this recently because I wrote an article that got a lot of publicity in the United States, and I got so much negative feedback from people. It's really, there are people that are just drowning in negativity. They have certain beliefs, certain, I guess you'd call them ideologies that hold them back. For example, rich people are evil. Poor people are good, and government's good and should redistribute the wealth. All of these things are born of negative beliefs. They're the belief that I'm not smart, I can never be rich, everyone in my family is overweight, things like that.
Unfortunately, these are things that were programmed into us when we were young by our models, our parents. Unfortunately, many of our parents weren't wealthy, but they did the best they could. They weren't bad people, but it's things they said, things you saw them do, things you experienced as a child, because I know you believe that a lot of these thoughts, beliefs, your habits have been instilled in you at a very early age, Tom.
Yeah, so for example, before I embarked on my Rich Habits study, I hated rich people. I was raised in a family where we thought rich people were evil, greedy, and were out to undermine us being the middle class and poor people. So when I finished my research, I realized, my gosh, the opposite happens to be true. The bell curve millionaires that I like to talk about, these people are actually superior human beings. They're better than the average person. They do more for other people than the middle class and the poor people. I know some people might be offended by that statement, but rich people are better people. They're the ones that put up wings. They're the ones that fund the food pantries. They're the ones that help kids with cancer. They're the ones that help mentor people so that they can become successful.
I understand what you're saying, because a lot of people have been brought up with the concept of dirty money and filthy rich, and that gives them these negative beliefs, Tom, but it also leads to some negative self-talk, doesn't it?
Yeah, so what happens is when you have a negative belief, it's like a computer app or like you download on your phone. You download it into your subconscious, and now your subconscious starts talking to you. It starts saying things to you. And it's saying things like, you're not smart enough, you're not lucky, you'll never succeed. So you have this negative self-talk. That is the byproduct of your negative beliefs.
Another negative habit that I try and avoid is gossip.
Yeah, there's only one type of gossip you should engage in, and that's good gossip. Unfortunately, most of the gossip is negative gossip. It's talking bad about people behind their back. That's such a mistake. It drags you down. It's such an anchor. Imagine, flip it on its head. Imagine that somebody, by the way, gossip always people find out about the gossip. So imagine somebody says, hey, Michael, do you know what Tom Corley said about you? He said you're one of the smartest, good-looking guys he ever met. I never said that to you, Michael, but somebody else said it to you that I said to them. So that's the kind of good gossip you want to engage in. You never want to engage in negative gossip.
Talking about the anchors and things holding you back, complaining seems to be one of the things the poor people do a lot. We all have problems, Tom. So how do you get around that?
Well, you're not going to get around it by complaining, because complaining, really what it's doing is it's reinforcing something as a fact. So if you say, I can't catch a break. Every time I get ahead, another bill pops up, an unexpected thing. My car broke down, my boiler broke down. When you say things and complain like that, it's a form of negative talk, but it's not negative self-talk. It's actually you talking and saying it to people. When I complain to you, it's saying to my subconscious, hey, this is our life. This is the kind of life that we're going to have, because we keep talking and complaining about this stuff. We're going to have to program our behaviors so that we can continue to have these problems in life.
Tom, a lot of people seem to get themselves in a financial mess. They're struggling financially despite having a good job, despite living at a great time where there's opportunities everywhere. That must be an anchor for some of them.
It is. It's this financial mess anchor. It drags you down. It puts you into a hole that you have to, build a rut to get out of. And the thing is, it's all self-made. It's all the result of your behaviors. So the reason you have financial problems, now you could say it's because I don't make enough money. Well, that might be true, but it also probably has more to do with the fact that you're spending more than you make. And that means your cost of living is too high. So you might be living in a place that's too expensive for you. You might be driving a car that's too expensive for you. You might be spending your money on lunch when you should be bringing it in. There's all sorts of different things that we do that are subconscious. We don't even think about it. And they create the financial mess that we're in.
Now, interestingly, Tom, a while ago, Bernard Salter, demographer here, wrote an article in one of our newspapers saying one of the problems with the younger generation is rather than bringing lunch to work, they go out and have smashed avocado. Is smashed avocado something that you get in restaurants in the United States as well, together with your latte?
No, we have the sushi. Everybody loves sushi all of a sudden. And guess what? Sushi costs you about $10. Every time you go and get sushi, it's $10. And so I don't like sushi, so I'm okay with that. But I think that if you're going out and spending, $5 to $10 a day on lunch, and you're a financial mess, well, you've got to really do some soul searching, because that's, just imagine compounded over 10 years, if you brought your even 50% of the time you brought your lunch into work, how much more money you'd have.
We have a great coffee machine here for our staff, and yet they go downstairs to the coffee shop and spend $4.50 on a cappuccino or a latte, and then buy something as well. And then they come and say the money runs out before the end of the month. Interesting, isn't it, Tom?
It is interesting. Or habits, Michael, they're habits.
They are. Now, you also say that one of the anchors holding people back are that they become blame throwers. Tell us about that.
This is about not accepting responsibility and blaming everyone and everything for your circumstances. You're poor because the rich people are holding you back. You're poor because of the banks. You're poor because the government policies, they don't tax the rich enough and redistribute the wealth. You're poor because your family was poor. Well, guess what? At some point, you have to grow up. You have to say, I am responsible for the circumstances of my life. And look, a lot of billionaires, they came from abject poverty. So if they can do it, why can't you? Now you could say, well, they got lucky. Well, that's true, but they were doing certain things to create luck. If you're going to be a blame thrower, there isn't anybody around you that's going to want to be around you for very long.
The problem is you can't change the outside world. You can't change the government. You can't change the tax system. If finance is difficult at the moment because the banks are being difficult, you're not going to change that, but you can change yourself, the way you think, the habits that you have, and the actions you take. So if you don't like it, change. It won't change. You have to change. And I learned that when I started taking responsibility rather than blaming other people, boy, did it make a difference in my life. And I know, Tom, that's why you and I spend so much time on our own personal development, but why we do these videos and we do these podcasts to help people with their own personal development so that they can change. That's the great thing. You can. You don't have to. You're not a tree.
I am the embodiment of change. I swear when I started this research, Michael, I was the opposite person. I was negative. I was depressed. I wasn't making any money, in my opinion. Boy, I have come really 180 degrees from where I was. I am so grateful for everything that I have right now, even though I don't have the 3.2 or the million that the millionaires in my study have. I've got an enormous amount of wealth that I created over the last 8 years, thanks to the Rich Habits.
Now, it's interesting. You deal with clients all day, so do I. And we sometimes get surprised how rational people think irrationally. They have these behaviors, they have these habits because they're anchored in ideology, in beliefs that are holding them back, that are restraining them, Tom.
Yeah, so ideology, you could have a PhD. I don't care what your degree is. I don't care how educated you are. If you possess an ideology that actually holds you back, you'll never be successful. And that's one of the things that's the byproduct of what I do, because I'm in the media a lot. I get a lot of people, angry people, pissed off people that email me, that tweet me, most vile, evil things, because I'm trying to speak the truth, and they're anchored in their ideology that says you can never get rich for whatever reason. They have 100 different reasons for that. The wealth gap. Oh, there's people don't make enough money. Oh, give me a break. No kidding. Nobody makes enough money. That's the whole idea about the Rich Habits is trying to help people make more money. But the people who are anchored in ideology, that they build a brick wall between them and their success.
Tom, there's one more thing I'd quickly like to discuss about the anchors that hold people back, and that's those people who are constantly, let's say, needy, because they're not just anchors to themselves, but also to those around them.
Yeah, this is, part of the financial mess anchor that also, it's like a cousin. So, you have these people in your life, family, friends, they always seem to need something. They need your help. They need money. They have all of these needs. And so they're like vacuum cleaners. They suck the lifeblood out of you. They suck the energy out of you because they're so needy. You don't want to surround yourself with needy people. And this is why if you have this anchor, this behavior of being needy, you're not going to have many friends, not for long. The smart ones are going to hightail it out of there and not associate with you anymore.
Tom, that's been a really interesting conversation. I guess what it's showing is that in general, we are our own worst enemies. We are driving around with one foot on the accelerator and one on the brake. What we're basically doing is having rich habits that drive us forward and poor habits that drive us back. But these anchors drive us down. And what you're now saying is not only us, but people around us. They're a billboard saying, look at me. So I guess the message is, find your anchors, remove them, develop some rich habits by reading our book, Rich Habits, Poor Habits, by reading your blog, reading mine, listening to our podcast, watching our videos, because there's lots of lessons where you can actually change the way of your life. The good news is you can change. The flip side of that is if you don't, nothing else is going to change, is it, Tom?
No, and what you want to be a billboard for is other successful people. You want that billboard to say, I'm a positive, upbeat, success-minded person. And what you'll find out is you're going to magnetize and attract people that are like-minded if they know, what you're all about. And the Rich Habits is all about that. It's about attracting the right people.
Tom, I think it's a great topic we should discuss again, because wealthy people do attract wealth. Wealthy people do attract certain people around them. And so let's have a chat about that in the near future.
Yeah, that'd be a good topic to cover. Thanks, Michael.
My pleasure. Speak soon.